10, 9. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the November 20th meeting of the Hyde Park Planning Board. Please take note of all the exits around the room and now join me as we salute the American flag. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all very much. The first item on the agenda is a continued public hearing entitled Dalbo and Vianney. Making a motion to reopen the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. Dalbo. Since our last meeting, you provided a plan that shows all the open space to the rear of the parcel, therefore adjacent to the Eleanor Roosevelt Valkill National Historic Site. So it'll be a nice big continuous parcel now of openness, which will provide valuable habitat, stormwater reclamation, etc. And you also added a note on the map at our attorney's request. Anything you'd like to add?
No.
Before we hear from the consultants of the board, is there any member of the public who'd like to speak tonight about this application? Ms. Polidoro, any comments? Mr. Signa?
No comment.
Mr. Murphy?
None.
Mr. Groninger?
None.
Ms. Dexter?
Nope.
Mr. Oliver?
No comment.
Mr. Marsigliano?
No comment.
Then I will make a quick comment, and it's something that I was just addressing with Mr. Dalbo. With this application alone, it didn't occur to me that there might be others behind it. As you know, he's not creating any new buildable lots. He's creating new lots in the sense that there'll be two lots that have a different size from what they are now under approval. Under our code, there is no difference in a lot line revision from a minor any subdivision. So because subdivisions in the Greenbelt require 30% open space, we had Mr. Dalbo place that on there. As it turns out, the buyer of his larger parcel either intends to donate the property or maybe sell it or do something with for the National Park Service. But in the interim, we forced them to spend some extra money, the legal fees, surveying, et cetera, to find out the meets and bounds for the open space, all that. It seems to me that the comprehensive plan does not require that. What it really requires is that when there's new buildable lots, when there's new buildings going up, new lots, then the 30% open space kicks in. So I took the liberty of contacting the town board, copied a couple of the two vice chairs to try to set up a workshop sometime in the future so that we could take care of this, so that if there's just a little bit of a land swap going on, that there might be a way to jigger the language so that we could add that 30% is required in the Greenbelt and the waterfront, I should say, unless new buildable lots are being created or unless there's somehow that will affect the ultimate, the underlying density, something. We would work that out with the town board. But I just wanted to sort of bring that up because Mr. Dalbo has been very patient. This was a simple sort of land sale that got a little complicated because we hadn't thought all the way through about the other requirements. And we'll be having the next application, Watt and Russo will also face kind of the same issues because it's in the Greenbelt. So I wanted to just address that to everybody. There being no further comment, making a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Who has this file?
I have it. Resolution accepting sketch and granting final subdivision approval, Dalbo and Vianney subdivision, November 20th, 2013, Resolution 13-38A. Whereas, now therefore be it resolved that the planning board hereby accepts the sketch plan and classifies the subdivision as a minor subdivision. Be it further resolved that the planning board hereby grants final approval to the subdivision plat subject to the following conditions. 1, payment of all fees in escrow. 2, approval by the planning board attorney of a deed restriction for the required open space area. Be it further resolved that proof of recordation of the deed restriction shall be required before the zoning administrator may authorize the issuance of any building permits for improvements on revised parcels 2, 3, or 6.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Congratulations. We took a copy of the resolution. Do you need one?
Most yeah. Donna can send him a final.
Can we get him to sign it?
We'll put it back in my records.
This way it's signed and.
Yep, we're all here tonight. Thank you again, Mr. Dalbo. Good luck.
Thank you.
Anytime you want to call me, you have my telephone number, want to talk about this, let me know.
All right, good.
I appreciate your input.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda, I hope I'm saying this correctly, is Boit and Russo.
It was just a typo. I was gonna fix
Can you
it.
state your name for the record when you come up, since it's our first time to meet you?
There's one thing, I think I've never been here before, and I wonder if I could borrow one from somebody at all? Thank you very much. My name is Richard Biot.
Biot.
Yep, that's close enough, anything's close enough.
Biot, okay. Okay, Mr. Biot, you're proposing to buy, what you're proposing looks simple, and I was trying to explain just now, it got a little complicated with the last application. Lot line adjustments, we don't have a separate category for that, we only have subdivisions. And amongst that, we have two, minor, which is 5 or less, and then major, which is 6 or more. Under our code in the district you're in, which is Greenbelt, we have two districts, I should say, Greenbelt and Waterfront, where they're supposed to be the lowest intensity of development. In both of those, whenever there's any subdivision of land, it requires a 30% open space restriction. The open space can be in different parcels, as long as there's something contiguous to them. We have to look at conservation value, meaning is there use for endangered, threatened, or rare species, water storage, whatever. In light of this, after I looked at your plan and thought, you're just buying 2 acres, and this would mean that the parent parcel, the Russos who own the 70 acres, if we're going to do this the way we're under the code right now, they would have to figure out where they want 30% to be permanently restricted. They would have to hire a surveyor to survey with the meets and bounds where that line is of the open space. They'd have to hire an attorney to put in the deed restriction on the land. And I started thinking that might be all too much for the seller to go, I'm not making any money off this. And it's probably too much money for you to do when you just want to buy a little more privacy.
Yeah.
So we can discuss all this tonight, but we have a councilman-elect actually in the audience that I included on the email because I think what we'd like to do, the current town board will be leaving office after 2 more meetings, and it'll take longer than that. So what I propose to do is go into a January workshop with the town board, and one of our vice chairs, Ann, who also responded to the email, said there might be a series of other small zoning tweaks we want to put forth at the same time that we could accomplish. But right now, if we proceed, we'll have to address the 30%. If you can be patient for a bit, it will probably take, if the town board's agreeable, the next town board, I think the closest we could do it, because of referrals to county planning, the planning board, and a public hearing, would probably be February or March. So it would take that long before you could come back. But if you came back at that time, once we've altered the code a bit, you wouldn't have to worry about any of the open space stuff. So it's sort of up to you.
Well, I'm in no rush, good Lord willing.
Given the amount of money I think that you and/or the seller would have to lay out, I mean, this was just one of these things. It sits in the code of Town Hyde Park. It doesn't make sense the way it was done not to have a lot line exemption, if you will, okay, where we're not really changing building lots
Right.
or numbers of building lots.
Increasing the building lots. That's
Yeah,
the
that's
purpose of
really the
this.
reason I think
Yeah.
it was put there, was protection of open space, and that's not the case here.
You're not
So,
building
you know,
lots.
if you can be patient,
No building.
maybe 3 or 4 months, I think everybody can save an awful lot of money on this.
I mean, hiring the surveyor, you know how much it's going to cost. And
Well,
hiring an
that-
attorney to,
I think you're gonna have to have a surveyor either
well, we're
way.
going to say that. We'd need a survey ultimately of, I mean, all we got,
You got a sketch, you didn't get a survey from
Yeah.
the Russo land because there isn't one, or the man who surveyed it retired and nobody knows where his documents went. Usually they sell them, or they sell the rights, they don't know where it is, so there's no survey at this point. So the reason why I was coming to the meeting tonight is it's all up in the air. I'm coming to see how you people feel and to see if I'm gonna go forward or
You-
not. Like you said, it's a lot of money for what they wanna even just for, what they want to sell it, and then the survey, escrows, and all of that, that brings it up a lot of money, but, it'd be nice, it's private up there, and,
I know just where you live. I've been up there before.
oh, it's just like paradise, and
You're in the woods.
I'm in the woods.
I'm not even sure you're on a real town road at that point, are you?
No, I'm not.
Yeah, I thought so. It looks like it is, but it kind of peters out somewhere along the way.
It
So,
does.
I mean, I think what we'd need is, at a minimum, a survey of what you're proposing for your addition. In other words, all this rather than just being kind of sketched out on the way our requirements are to provide the plat.
You'd have to show, your lot with your proposed,
Well, actually,
Addition on a plat.
I think what I was sent an email, and what Tad was saying, and this is not, don't quote me, and she didn't want to be quoted, but the...
We can guarantee
But
that.
the engineer, and I'm not sure if that's Pete Andros, I don't know the town engineer.
It is Mr. Andros.
Okay, it's Pete.
No,
All right,
Tad.
so...
Satero, I mean, not
What Pete
Andros.
was saying is, normally, the surveyor would just have to get his alignments on the line, doesn't have to get a full survey of the piece, but just get his bearings, and then the piece that I propose to buy.
Mr. Satero is, not Pete Andrews, Pete Satero is our town engineer, and he did
Oh,
mention that
yeah.
at our agenda meeting.
Oh, okay.
He was supposed to be here tonight to help discuss that, but, I mean, I think what he was saying is you don't have to resurvey the whole Russo property, as long as they can get their line set, but we would need a survey of where you are and what you're proposing.
Well, I have the survey
That's
of
all.
you have the survey of my land.
Yes, we just need it,
Just of that 2.1
right, you would have
third acre.
to show it added on to your acreage. We'd have to have existing plus proposed.
So let me ask you this question. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to be doing this.
You can.
Should I, see, I wanted to take baby steps because I don't want to make a mistake. And my wife says the same thing, and, I don't want to put out anything, winter's coming, and put out anything for a survey if I didn't necessarily know that I could move forward. So I was hoping tonight to know that there is a possibility of me moving forward.
There's always a possibility of moving forward. I mean, subdivision of land like this, it doesn't involve any change.
Right.
There's no impacts that I can see to it. I mean, we're not allowed to tell you how we're going to vote. That is against the
I
law.
understand that.
But I'll ask for discussion later on. You should be able to tell from people's comments whether it's, or,
Oh,
I think the board wanted to give you an option tonight, because if you move forward with the plan you have, the board has to review whatever you submit, but there is this 30% open space requirement, which is going to require, a portion of the 30% of the Russo property to be set aside as open space. Or if you want to wait and then pursue this down the road.
well, I understand that. It's probably more feasible for me to wait till February or March. I mean,
that's what I think. I mean, I don't want to guide you, because that's, I think, against the law as well. But if I were in your shoes, I would watch the town board meetings and look at the agendas. You can sign up for them online on the website, and watch and see if the no town board, takes us up on this offer to make a tweak to the zoning. So, because there's actually a third lot line alteration we have right now.
Right.
It's not in Greenbelt, it's in neighborhood, so it doesn't require open space, but if it were a half a mile away, it'd be in Greenbelt. And so that's why this occurred to me suddenly, that this seems like an undue burden on residents who just want to buy some property, to increase their parcels, provide more open space or just green space around them. And the way to do that so that we stop adding that financial and time burden would be to change the law, to tweak it so that in cases such as yours, and the last case, Mr. Dalbo's, you wouldn't have the open space requirement.
and just so I understand the open space, it's unusable space is what you're talking about, right?
No, the space, we have to evaluate it for conservation value, meaning if you have a 40-acre parcel and you say there is a landfill and I want to make that the open space, that doesn't have much conservation value. You have to persuade us of that. Open space is really meant for protection and movement of wildlife, animals. You can, once something is deed restricted, is open, you
It's-
can't put structures on it.
Yeah, the limitation is that it needs to remain in a natural state, and uses are limited to passive recreation and activities which do not compromise the conservation value of the open space, It cannot be used for storage, parking, or circulation of automobiles or occupied by any structures. So it really does have to remain open.
Okay, but that's on the Russo property.
Or yours, I mean, it depends on how it's 30% of the total.
Of the 2 lots. Some of it could be on your property. The 2 acres could be on your property, and you could put whatever, 30% of 70, I'm not very good at math, 20? So if you wanted to make your 2 acres, you could have 18 adjoining on the Russo property, and that could be the open space permanently. But it means you couldn't really, you
That's
couldn't
all
put a
swamp-
shed.
It's all swampland.
I know, and under our code, you can put wetlands in open space because they have a conservation value.
Okay.
But it does limit the future development of their parcel because now they're 30% smaller. So when they go to subdivide in the future, they're gonna have to give another 30%. So that decreases the development potential of
That's what I'm
that
trying
lot.
to, it's not, once we do the subdivision, if they do 30%, and then later on someone comes in and says, I want to buy it and put 4 houses on it, they still have to do another 30%, which is why I'm saying this is a burden, in my opinion, if we don't correct it.
So I'm thinking that maybe I ought to, how would I, you just said go online, but I'm not kind of the guy that. Is there any other way that I would ever know that
If I'm not.
there was a change?
If I'm still alive in March, I'll be happy to give you a phone call personally after it's done, if something gets done, and if it's not, then I'll call you too.
Then, okay, so Michael?
Yep, Dupree. I'm a nice guy, I know how to find you. Tad has your number. I know where you live too.
In March. Okay, and I'll do that. And so I guess it continues on whether I decide if I'm gonna get a survey or not.
Well, I
Right.
think that if you wait for a bit and then once we have, Steve, I mean, if the town board says, no, we're not going to do it, I'll also let you know earlier.
Okay.
You have to come through, if you still want to do this, we'll have to go to the open space stuff. But assuming that they're amenable to it and it goes through, then it may not be me personally, it may be Donna or someone from the office, but one of us will contact you and say we're ready. And then what I would prefer to do next is, rather than come in here with a lot of questions, I would prefer to have an offline meeting with maybe just a couple of my colleagues from either side and Tad, and we could give you a little bit more direction about what you need, A, B, C, and D to get to E. I think that'd be easier on you. Normally, if I'm around, I am in the first meetings with Ms. Moss, as zoning administrator. I was out of town when you had your first meeting with her. So, but, because I find it helpful if someone from the board can be there, with you. We're a little bit more directional than what Ms. Moss is, if you understand that word. Meaning, we try to be not more helpful, but give you our perspective of what you're going to need straight out.
Right.
So that's what I would do.
Because there's not enough information to move forward at this
No,
point.
not yet.
The way you don't have an actual plan showing your proposal.
But I do want to stress, we want to work with you. That's why I was telling you all this. We're residents of this town too. We try to be helpful to other residents.
Okay,
Okey-doke?
yep,
Well, then I'll be talking to you.
okay.
And in the meantime, happy Thanksgiving and thanks for
Oh,
coming in.
you
It was
too.
nice to meet you.
And I'm gonna I didn't get your last name.
Dupree.
Okay.
Believe me, it's easy to find.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Last item on the agenda is, or second to last, I'm going to add something at the end, is Rockledge Plaza. Has everyone had a chance to read the letter that I composed to the ZBA?
Yes.
At our last meeting, we all agreed that the letter height that we saw looked appropriate for the size of the building, et cetera, et cetera. So may I get a motion to send this to Chairwoman Donahue?
Small correction.
Oops.
Just real tiny grammatical in point number 3. First sentence, next to last phrase, given that this
Oops,
is...
give. Thank you. Making a motion to send the letter as corrected by Board Member Signa.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Donna, I'll make that correction before and bring it to you. And then I want to add real quickly,
ZBA.
I received correspondence this week, and since the town board often reads this in for the record, I wanted to as well. It's regarding recent site plan waiver for 14 East Elm Avenue, Statsburg, New York. Dear Mr. Dupree and board members, upon application for building permit for residents Sean and Vika Schock at 14 East Elm Avenue, I, Kurt P. Hughes, applicant and builder, was denied a permit because the zoning administrator referred the matter to your board for site plan waiver. The property, located in the historic overlay district of Statsburg, was dated and in need of repairs and restoration, including extensive work to the existing porches for which a building permit had been applied for. The structural integrity and framework of the porches had been compromised due to the age of the building, the dwelling, and lack of maintenance. Drawings submitting for the building permit indicated such work and showed it would be historically correct to the home and neighborhood. Upon my request for site plan waiver, the planning board on August 21st, 2013, at their regular meeting, granted such a waiver, and a building permit was issued shortly thereafter. I commend the town of Hyde Park, its administrators, and the boards for adopting and enforcing a zoning code that helps preserve and ensure the past, present, and future integrity of our town. The landmark anchors this town has from one end to the other should set us aside from many other mid-Hudson townships. And the town in its entirety really should have been considered an area of statewide significance and an historic overlay district. However, over the years, there apparently wasn't a clear vision, and now we all have our work cut out to see if we can make this town what it could and should be. I'm a resident builder who holds a degree in construction technology from SUNY Delhi. I thought it was Delhi, sorry. And another in land use planning from Syracuse. I come from a family of reputable trade backgrounds in the area and have extensive knowledge, experience, and passion for improving the community in which I live. I intend to carry out my skills in a capacity that serves the best interests of this town and hope each individual that serves and administrates can say the same. Please review the attached before and after pictures of the property at 14 East Elm Avenue and see the changes that we can accomplish with a clear vision if we so desire. Thank you for authorizing commencement of the aforementioned project and entrusting me to carry out what was proposed. Respectfully, Kurt P. Hughes. Which I thought was a great letter, and I wanted to show you what he did so you can see the side-by-side comparisons.
Oh, wow.
Take a look. Sorry you can't see this on TV,
Wow.
but it's pretty phenomenal. We can hold them up if you want to zoom in.
This
With his new
Okay.
toy, he
These
can
two
go
are, these two are
anywhere.
very good.
Probably the best before-after pair.
These two are really, I think, say it all.
That is a neat pair.
These two say it all.
This is I wrote Mr. Hughes back and said that not only were we appreciative of his comments, and look forward to working with him again, but that also, it's rare that we receive that kind of feedback and that kind of commendation and that kind of commitment to the community. And he really did just what he said. I also note that probably the residents around him are turning somersaults at seeing that eyesore turn into this thing of beauty again. I mean, wow.
That's gorgeous. It is, that's really neat.
Then last but not least, just as a reminder, you heard this discussion about us going to, or some of us going, probably Victoria and I going to a workshop to ask for a request to adjust the zoning as regards the open space and the green belt for lot line revisions. In the interim, as Ann pointed out, if there's anything that you've seen in the code lately that you think needs to be tweaked or changed, the last 2-3 years since we did it, this would be a good time in which just to put a series of changes in there that are small, but that can be evaluated at one fell swoop. I have a couple that I know that have been brought up to me as well.
Oh, yeah, I have a few more.
Yeah, but I was going to say, any
I
of the
have a couple
additional,
also,
if you
Michael.
guys will just email them to me, I'll put them into a form, and Victoria and I will just plow right through them, okay? Okay, any other business? I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Media Committee. Happy Thanksgiving to one and all.
You too.
Who's ready to go drink?
Me. Just wanted to show you.
You are.